So if you're food insecure in this country, so 13% of households are food insecure, 19% of households have children. Single moms and children is 30%. So if you think about that, that means for a family of 4, they will miss 100 meals a month. So you begin to think the health implications of hunger, and especially as we think about, starting out with healthy moms and healthy kids, has a major impact. We just don't typically think of hunger as a major health issue in this country.
So we're talking about not having enough food or not having the right food?
Probably both. It starts with not having enough food. So people that are food insecure have times during the month where they don't have resources to buy food. Sometimes it's not the people we expect. Sometimes it's people that, are living in poverty or at the poverty line. Other times it's people that maybe be making a decent wage, but what happens is they have other issues in life that are impacting their finances. So these are clearly people that struggle every month finding the right, finding food and finding the right food. And then you get into all the other sort of issues that affect people's a way to acquire food, whether it's transportation and other things.
And you've talked about doctors prescribing food.
Right. So over the last 2 years, we have begun to screen. This is starting to happen across the United States. Right now in the United States, if you look at your individual health, 20% of your health is related to what happens clinically. 80% has nothing to do with health care, yet we spend $3 trillion, 17.8% of the GDP, on the way to $5 trillion, 20+% of the GDP. And yet we don't ask you, if you go to a doctor's office, about food, about your housing, about the security of your neighborhood. Do you have utilities on? And so what's happening is people are starting to address these social issues in life. So in our system, we've screened 2 million people over the last 2 years, asking them questions about food insecurity.
And that leads you to what conclusion? What can you do about it? What can we do about it?
Well, there's a lot of things. You can provide short-term food needs, and you can connect people to resources. I think a lot of times what we find is people just don't know. I think always the implication is, well, people can't, they're lazy or there are other issues in life. And clearly, it's a matter of, especially in the senior population, is sometimes they don't know how to access food. They may be embarrassed to access food. The other thing is when you begin to look at...
When you say embarrassed to access food, what do you mean by that?
Well, we find that a lot in seniors. Mm-hmm. They're not going to ask for help. They're not going to, go out of their way. They don't want to let people know. In some of our screening, what we've found is people we didn't expect to screen positive for food insecurity actually screen positive.
You would prescribe a lot of time, I guess it's a lot of fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, healthy fish and meat, things like that. That would be.
So we have
there's things that that you won't prescribe, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. So food pharmacies. So we have food pharmacies. So what happens when a person may not want to go to a food bank, but yet a doctor writes a prescription.
Food pharmacy.
They take that prescription and they go to the food pharmacy. They sit down with a dietitian and food, and then what they do is look at their medical condition.
Okay, but let me make it more complicated. Who's supposed to pay for the food? And the reason I'm thinking about, we have this news this morning that Humana may be teaming up with Walmart.
Right.
Should insurance pay for, or Walgreens, I'm sorry, but should insurance pay for food?
Yes, and the reason why is so we have a health plan. When people go to food pharmacies versus those that don't, it's a 15% reduction in costs on a monthly basis. So what we're finding is these social issues have a major impact, not only your health and well-being, but healthcare costs. So there's this belief that this next wave is going to be addressing all these social issues in your life, and it kind of makes common sense when you think about your overall health and well-being.